Looks like I still fit.
Yeah, great. Okay, great. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
Sounds
I
good.
can.
Super. We got folks, I think, admitted and they're online. So we'll get started. Welcome. My name is Glenn Haight, Commissioner and Chair of the Commercial Fisheries Entry Commission, which we'll call CFEC or the Commission throughout the meeting. Today is April 24th, a Thursday, and it's 10 a.m. We're meeting here in the CFEC offices in Juneau, but we've also got some staff online. This is a public meeting of the Commission conducted in accordance with the Open Meetings Act. The meeting was noticed on the Alaska Online Public Notice System and sent to interested parties. We have public access both here in the room and through our dial-up number. The meeting today is for two specific purposes, and I'll cover that here in a bit. We are not taking public comments, so this is listen in only. I'm going to introduce staff just to start, and maybe I'll turn to Commissioner Green.
Hi, everybody. Commissioner Rick Green with CFEC.
Great, coming in loud and clear. And also in the room, we've got Melee Make, our Executive Director, and we have Suzanne Rumfeld, our Licensing Supervisor, Josh Sanders with the Network Specialist, helping with the tech, and Dan Strong with our Research Section, serving as moderator. Online, we've got, or on the Teams meeting, we've got Jennifer Finley, Law Specialist, Reed Johnson, our Research Lead, and Robin Loreth, our Adjudications Officer. Did I miss any?
Perfectly.
Okay.
Sally Kahales is on the phone line.
Great, thank you.
Or
Thank you,
fisheries
Sally.
economist.
Thank you, Fisheries Economist. Thanks, Reed. Appreciate that. Okay, quickly to review the agenda. We shouldn't be long today, so we won't hold people for very long. And again, appreciate everyone's attendance. But pretty simple questions today. The Commission needs to review a couple of requests to waive fees, and so we'll be doing that. The first one is permit fee waivers for Cook Inlet Eastside Set gillnet permit holders who choose not to participate in the fishery. It's at this point it's limited to dip nets. We waived the fee in 23, and so the question is, and we didn't clarify it in the agenda, and it's my fault for not doing that, but the question will be to waive it for 24 and for 25, so that we don't have to come back and do it again.
Okay.
And I just see if that's okay with you, Commissioner Green, if we do that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep, absolutely. I
Okay.
approve.
And I think I just sort of, in terms of the differences between 24 and 25, I thought we might make it two separate questions.
Yeah.
Because, with Commissioner Green wasn't here in 24, and we went through a little bit of exercise with the proposed rule. But then the Board of Fish created a few different changes to it over the winter. So I think maybe it's fair if we ask it in two questions. And also in that vote, we will, or that particular category, we're going to ask the question or vote on whether or not to waive the permit fees for an individual who has two permits and chooses to dip net, because they're only allowed to fish one permit. So they would be charged for that one permit, but the question will be, should they be charged for that second permit?
Right.
Just want to make sure that's clear.
Okay.
Yeah. So we've got that, and then we've also have a request to waive fees for people in our limited entry fishery, Norton Sound herring. That's what, G34Z. Okay, because there's a lot of limitations in that based on the market. So we know that there's 3 people participating, and on that one, the request is to waive it for 24, but I think we could do it for 24 and 25 if that's okay.
Yeah.
That's good with me.
Yeah.
Okay, and that I think we can ask as one question because there's really no change
Yeah.
between.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. A real quick discussion on authorities. First of all, we've got a quorum here today. That's the two commissioners.
Yep.
So when we take a vote, we would need to agree for both of us for it to pass. In the duties and powers section in the Limited Entry Act, Alaska Statute 1643-100, item 13 is allows us to establish and administer the collection of annual fees. And then there's more description on fees in AS 1643-160, but specifically in regulation, the commission has 2 sections dealing with this. One for interim use permits and one for limited entry permits. But essentially, let's see, as we're talking about just limited entry permits here. It's 20 AAC 05560, and the relevant part under D says the commission may waive the annual renewal fee of a limited entry permit if the commission finds that a circumstance applicable to all permittees in a fishery has prevented a substantial number of permittees from participating in that fishery. So if it's a fishery where it's not occurring, the fees are waived automatically. But if it's a fishery where there's limited participation, mainly based on market, then we have to decide.
Yeah.
Whether to waive for all. Okay, great. So with that, item 3, this is the fee waiver for Cook Inlet East Side Set gillnet permit holders who choose not to use dip nets. So I'll give a little background and just open it up for other comments people might have. That fishery has been closed down extensively for several years, but it was closed down to all participation in 2023. And then the board I think in 2024 allowed for the use of dip nets. And so we had some limited participation in 2024 for people using dip nets. In fact, Mr. Johnson has put together some stats. I'll just read it off here, but Reed, I can turn it over to you here in a little bit if you want to go any further, but up to you. But 89 permits fished in 2024. So that was quite a number. So the question though, it's dip nets for use within the king salmon conservation provisions, and a lot of people did not want to participate using dip nets for a variety of reasons that they had, and so we've been asked if the fee could be waived for those who don't want to use it. So let me just see if anyone has any additional comments. Reed, do you want to have anything to add to that?
Yeah, so for the people who did choose to participate, there was a very large spread in their harvests, right? I mean, we're seeing anywhere from like 3 or 5 pounds, people who just really had one delivery, they tried it and then stopped. And then there are people who put close to 20,000 pounds on their permit. So that spread, I think, is a little more extreme than we see in other fisheries, right? It's very common for fisheries in Alaska where a small proportion of the permit holders are going to be responsible for the majority of the harvest. I guess I would suspect that in this case because it's still new and people are still working out techniques. I was surprised by the number of permits that actually posted a single delivery of 3 or 6 pounds. It was the majority of them, to be honest. I suspect participation is probably going to go up. We did hear at previous meetings that the people who did seriously put forth a good effort, put forth a lot of effort into catching fish, did actually were surprised by the amount that they caught. So yeah.
Okay. Thanks for that. Great. Anyone else have any comments just in general on the fishery? Commissioner Green?
Yeah, I just want to say, as we've approached this, and we've heard testimony from the different fishermen that have tried, that as Reed points out, this is a developing technique that these guys will be learning to master. And I'm assuming over the next few years, as they have done in almost every other fishery, they will come up with new methods and new ways to really maximize their harvest. And I'm excited to see what they do in this time with this use of alternative gear that we've allowed at this point. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they continue to grow, because they are ingenious. The American fisherman is phenomenal with how they find to catch fish. It's impressive.
Great. Okay, thank you very much. So second thing just to cover I think Suzanne, you've given us some input on this is how we'll determine who's in the fishery. Just we have to capture who's registered for the East Side SetNet group. We've got the upper sub-district. We've got that from Fish and Game, sounds like. And then of course we'll know who's dip netting based on record keeping from Fish and Game. Yeah.
And if there's no records, which we can look at 2024 now,
Correct.
Right.
so, but for 2025.
We don't have any data.
We
Good
don't
after
have
the
it.
fact.
Right, because
Okay.
fishery hasn't opened yet. So
Yeah.
we don't, yeah.
So, yeah.
Sounds good. All right. Well, with that, Commissioner Green, could I ask you to make a motion to waive fees for these for 2024?
Yeah, let me make the first motion to waive fees for Cook Inlet East Side set net permit holders who choose not to use dip nets in 2024.
Great, thank you. I'll second that. And a little discussion. I don't know if there are questions you have, Commissioner Green, of anyone?
No, I do not.
Any discussion on your party, or want me to jump in? Or
I would defer to you, and then I'll follow up.
okay, I'll do, and I think some of the stuff would be just comments I may have for the second second motion as well, but we'll start in. Yeah, I think that, as you pointed out, I think kudos to the folks who did it in 24. I was actually surprised that there was 89 permits that were fished. That was new news to me. I mean, I talked to probably 10 people that did it,
Mhm.
and they really want to take a fair shot at it, and they gave it they gave it an honest effort. I think for a lot of people that I've otherwise talked to, especially when you have some longtime participants who are fishing further south at an Anilchik and Clam Gulch and even up into Coho, those fish are running further offshore, and they're deeper. At the Board of Fish, there's been this long time controversy about lifting the nets so you can avoid king salmon, and this works well the closer you are to the river mouth. But the further out you are, the deeper the sockeye are going to run. So for folks who do fish in these other areas besides North Cay and Salamonoff, it's they've never liked that shallower mesh depth. And so if you're fishing a dip net, you can only go so deep. So I think it's really impractical for them to do it. They would have to go to the mouths of the rivers. And so if you had full participation at the mouth of the rivers, like 300 permit holders, but that'd be a little bit like that scene from Jaws, right? Where everyone's going out on the boat and it's mayhem. So I don't know that that's practical. And there's also lease sites, longtime lease sites. So with a dip net, you can fish on someone's lease, but I think there is, as I've heard some people say, there's a little bit of like encroaching on someone else's territory. And they can, and people did, they have to. But that could be unnerving for some longtime participants who are further south. This is not a set gill net. It's not, and that is concerning for a lot of people who consider themselves set gill netters. There a lot of things were mentioned about this from people. They were concerned about safety, concerned about profitability. I think Mr. Johnson pointed out the great range in success. But what we're looking at here is that the average earnings in 2024 were $1,400 basically. But obviously some people made quite a bit more than that. But there's not a great deal of earnings here. If you're looking at, say, maybe making $5,000 this for the amount of time you're going to put into it, and it's important that you make money during these times, you probably should just find another job. I mean, I can't begrudge someone, because back in the day when this thing was a healthy fishery, someone could probably clear $20,000 to $40,000.
Correct.
So it seems like this is not terribly viable for some people who really need the money. They could fish elsewhere in the inlet.
Mhm.
They could go fish elsewhere in the inlet with their set gill nets, but that would require moving their operations, which could be difficult. And there's also this issue of this potential buyback where you have to continue registering for this area if you're going to take advantage of, if you're going to be part of that. Whether or not there's ever going to be a buyback, I don't know, but I could see that holding people in.
Yeah.
So those are some comments for 2024 that I have. Commissioner Green?
Yeah, I think that I would like to add that this is an alternative gear. And without these alternative gears, there's no way to capitalize on these economic opportunities that are just swimming into the river. And it is a serious loss of economic opportunity. I understand why the board is doing it. I understand why we're doing it. What part of our focus is management on sustained yield principles. And that also does apply to the king salmon, the way they are. And of course, that's why we have to go to an alternative gear method for selective harvest. But this is developing. We may see some other alternative gear coming up soon. And I don't know if we're going to get back to set gill nets or not. And you know that's if that's going to happen, that's down the future. There's a lot of economic opportunity that is going by that river, and I would just like to say that I would like to see our fishermen encouraged to capitalize on that, because that's one of the main reasons why we manage these fisheries on the sustained yield for human harvest.
Great, thank you for that. Appreciate it. I don't have any other comments. I don't know if I would just turn to others if they have anything they want to add.
Yeah, I just want to comment. Thank you, commissioners, for covering really well, the concerns that you put forth, talking to, being in public and, having face-to-face conversation with commercial fishermen, in Kodiak, where we just came from, and then also in Seattle, Marine Fish Expo. These are the exact concerns that, fishermen, put forward to us. So I really appreciate, putting those concerns into our public meeting. I really appreciate that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Well, if there's no more discussion, looking around.
Call the question.
I heard questions been heard. Ms. Finley, care to call the roll?
On the motion to waive the permit fees for the Cook Inlet East Side set gill net permit holders who chose not to use dip nets in 2024, how do you vote, Commissioner Haight
Yes.
and Commissioner Green?
I vote affirmative, yes.
All right, and that motion is passed.
Thank you for that. Okay, maybe we could do a second motion, Commissioner Green, for 2025.
Absolutely. I'll make a motion to waive the fees for Cook Inlet Eastside Set Net Gill Net permit holders who choose not to use dip nets in 2025.
I'll second that and open it up for discussion. I guess I can start then, if perhaps.
Okay.
I'll just incorporate my comments on the first motion by reference, and then I would just add, and you touched on it too. If we could have had, and I know it's a bit of a lift, but if we could have had some additional alternative gears put in place for those southern harvesters, some kind of floating, I hate to say it, fish trap. I think it could be made legal, but if we would have had a push to do that, then those people could participate probably fully with even a full complement of gear, and not killed kings. But there wasn't much action on that. But that's an additional comment I have. Commissioner Green?
Yeah, well, I would like to say that we have waived the fees for a couple of years on this. This is starting to be a developing fishery, and I can't see waiving the fees forever if people are choosing to not participate when there are alternative gear parts. But that's looking down the road a ways, and so I would just urge everybody to be cautious and not expect this forever.
Thanks for that. Appreciate it. With that, I'm looking around to see if anyone has their hands up, and so, Mr. Johnson.
Yeah, I guess I just want to, and I said this before, but I have an inkling that there's going to be quite a bit of increase in participation in 2025. Now that people have seen that it can be done.
Thank you. Noted. Yes. Appreciate that. I would imagine it would as well. Okay, with that.
Call the question.
And the question's been heard. Roll call, Ms. Finley.
All right, on the motion to waive the permit fees for Cook Inlet Eastside Set Gillnet permit holders who choose not to use dip nets in 2025. Commissioner Haight
Yes.
and Commissioner Green.
Affirmative, yes.
All right, that motion has passed.
All right. Thanks for that, Ms. Finley. Okay, so the third question we have again is for those Cook Inlet, those operators who have two permits, the board official allows just one
Yep.
to be used. And so the question is to waive the fee on that second permit. So if I could ask for a motion on that, Commissioner Green?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to waive the fee on the Cook Inlet Eastside Set Net permit holder's second permit if they choose to use the dip net single permit in either 24 or 25.
I'll second that. And thanks for that.
Mhm.
Yeah, I guess my only comment is that, yeah, they can only use one permit. They get to use 4 nets, which is good. So they need more than one person out there, but they can only use a permit. So Mr. Commissioner Green, do you have any other?
Yeah, no, I agree. It seems to make sense. If you can only use one permit, you're not allowed to use your second one. It almost should be a foregone conclusion, but obviously we'll take a vote on it.
Yeah, thank you. I would agree. But yeah, just to be clean on it, we'll do
Yep.
this. Do I hear a question?
If not,
Question.
then we call the question.
Question's been heard. Roll call, Ms. Finley.
Okay, on the motion to waive the permit fees on the Cook Inlet Eastside Setnet Gillnet permit holders who have a second permit on the second permit, if they choose not to, or if they choose to use dip nets in 2024 and or 2025. Commissioner Haight
Yes.
and Commissioner Green.
Yes, affirmative.
All right, that motion has also passed.
Great. Thanks for that. Well, good. Okay. And then on to the second item here we have to do fee waivers for Norton Sound herring permit holders. This is for the request was for 2024, but since we're here, maybe we can just wrap in 2025. I'm pretty sure the situation is going to be the same.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Green, you care to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to waive the fee for Norton Sound herring gillnet permit holders who could not get a market.
Thank you. Second. And I think Ms. Rumpel, you've got a good handle on who these folks are. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to reach out to NSCDC
Okay.
and get the exact people. And then we'll know, we can go through and waive the rest.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for that. I don't have, I mean, I support doing this, obviously. Can't find a market. It's not great. It's not great for herring. And I did ask to see the list of all the limited fisheries that we'd have waivers on already. And it's almost all herring.
Yeah.
And I actually, was approached in Kodiak, and the question wasn't put to us formally, but it was from someone who owns a Sitka sacro fishery, which is occurring, but there's only one buyer, and they don't go with that processor. Now, and so there's 47, 48 permits there, and I'm thinking something like maybe 15 to 20 people get to fish it. So the same question I think is valid, in a number of other fisheries. I'm not prepared to waive the fees for that herring sacro fishery. Not suggesting it, but I think it's a relevant question for a lot of fisheries. I mean, even in some of our salmon fisheries, only half of the permits are fishing. Probably a lot of times because people can't find a market. That's not the sole reason. Some people just don't want to fish, perhaps, or they're tired trying to sell. But I think it's just a question that we might get asked a lot more. So I'll flag that. Yeah. Commissioner Green, have any other?
Yeah. No, in essence, if they can't find a buyer, it's almost the same thing as a fishery being shut down. It just doesn't have a lot of incentive. And so that's what brings us here today.
Yeah. Okay. With that,
Joe, call the question.
question's been heard. Roll call, Ms. Finley.
All right, on the motion to waive permit fees for Norton Sound herring gillnet permit holders who could not get a market in 2024 and or 2025. Commissioner Green, Commissioner Haight
Yes.
and Commissioner Green.
Yes, affirmative.
And the motion has passed.
All right. Thanks very much for that. Thanks, everyone. If there's nothing else to cover, again, looking around, then we can, I think, safely. Appreciate it.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Commissioner Green. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Great. Thanks. So,
Thank you, Jennifer.
see what happens. Interesting.
And then we should get a recording.
It should